Alright guys, so this is the company he went with. It's a Genisis off-road. They sell a single battery and a dual battery kit. So what we have here is the dual battery setup for, I believe, number 34 batteries. And the reason why you got to have those batteries so they fit in here like this, okay? This whole unit's going to sit in the same location as that single battery and your fuse panel, okay? So we're going to take all that out. We'll remount the fuse panel here and then remount the new battery setup, okay? So this kit does come with a relay, and what it does, it allows you to charge both batteries, but it also isolates one battery from the other for starting reasons. So let's go ahead and see what we have to do to hook this up. Okay, so first things first, we gotta figure out what to pull out. You're going to be pulling your battery out. You're going to be pulling your fuse panel out and your air box out. The reason for that, there is a plastic tray that goes underneath all of this to hold your battery and your fuse box. We're going to be replacing that with a steel tray. So first things first, we're going to need to pull this battery out. We're going to need to pull the fuse box out and this guy out, and we should be able to get to the rest of the bolts to get this guy out. So you're going to need a 10 millimeter on that guy. So we'll unhook the positive and then the negative, and then pull the battery out. Alright guys, welcome back to Off Axis Builds. We're going to be installing a dual battery in my brother's 2017 Jeep Wrangler. The reason why we're doing this is for a few reasons. He's putting a lot of accessories on here. He's going to have a winch at some point. He has all these lights, and with all that, you want to still be able to start your Jeep. So he's been having some issues with this. He's left his heated seats on, battery's drained, he wasn't able to start his Jeep. So what this kit's going to allow us to do is have two batteries. One's going to be isolated for all your auxiliary stuff, and the other one's going to be specifically for starting. So let's go ahead and dig into this and see what we have. Alright guys, so first things first, let's get these 10 millimeter nuts off the battery. Okay, you don't need to pull them all the way off because all it's doing is loosening up the clamp. Okay, so let's go ahead and take your positive lead off. There we go.
Here, wrap it up.
We're going to take the negative lead off. So what we're going to be doing in some of this project here is clean up all of these wires as well. Let's see if I can kind of tuck that back there so it's out of my way. There we go. Pull this battery out. Oh, I forgot this one has 10 millimeter down here.
Did you see the rocks I got you?
Oh yeah, nice.
I went and picked those out. I was like, ooh, I think I like this one. Oh, this one's cool. Oh, wow, that one's cool too.
So we're going to go ahead and just pull this battery out now. Okay guys, so we're going to go ahead and remove this out of our way just slightly so we can get to this breather hose when we're removing this air box. There's 3 clips. I've already disconnected them. Go ahead and take those off, and then 2 10 millimeter bolts there and a hose. Just go ahead and disconnect the hose from this whole air box. And we're going to lift this up, get the air cleaner out of our way. At this point, you're going to take this breather hose and you're going to just grab a hold of it and twist and pull it off. There we go. Okay, so now we can just go ahead and set that aside.
I'll just take it off.
Yeah, we need to take it off right there with a flathead ahead and remove that with a flathead. Good. Set that aside. So we're at the point where we can remove the fuse box. Just going to want to open the lid. Okay, we're going to take the power off the fuse box. Okay, and then there would be 4 clips on the 4 corners that we'll pry up with a flathead screwdriver. Okay, so let's go ahead and. So this one is a 13 millimeter. Side. Set that aside. I'll need a, I'll probably use this one. Perfect. So it's going to push in on these tabs and you're going to lift. So you will have 2 sets of wires that are going to go across. This one's going to your solenoid. And you're just going to push this little plastic red piece over. And then there's a little tab at the bottom. Pull that off. As far as this other one goes, that one's going to have to stay on while you get this box out. So there's one more plastic clip down here. Just gonna get underneath that and pry it up. There we go. We got all that out. We can push this electrical wire outside of the box. There we go. All right. So what's left on this box is a series of 10 millimeter nuts and bolts. We have 2 up here and 3 up front and 1 on the side here. Okay, I've already removed those, but let's go ahead and show you where those are at. You have one right straight down from this power steering. Okay. In fact, we're going to remove this so it's out of our way to put it back in. Okay, we'll set that aside. Okay, because we're going to need that out of our way. Okay, so there's one 10 millimeter there, one up here. Okay, so here's the fun part. You gotta feed these wires over this while trying to get all of that out. Okay, so we're gonna push it towards the front of the Jeep just to get it off of these tabs. Okay. Alright, we had to take a little pause here. We just installed these new hinges on his hood, but unfortunately we had to remove them to get this box out. So
now
it'll come right out. Yep. You just got to slide it back towards the cab now. Get these wires up and over all these plastic tabs. There we go.
Just rotate towards you.
Let that loose. do want to save that plastic because we're going to be cutting some parts off of it. But now that we've got it out, let's get the new tray in place. Okay, so we're just gonna go underneath everything, kind of like how we took it out. There we go. Then you're just gonna slide it right onto those 3 spots in the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these washers on. So you're going to use the nuts with the washers already attached, the same ones that came off this front. Okay, so we'll snug those up and not tight. Okay. Next, we're going to put this bolt right back in the bottom here. So we have one bolt right down in here. Let's get a better view of that. So we have one bolt right down through that hole right there. You can see it at the bottom. Just gonna have to slide your finger in there. The best you can just to get it started. The next step is let's get this fuse box back in. Those 4 corners are going to slide over these 4 posts. It should just lock right on just like it did before. One thing you got to make sure you do is get these 2 wires back underneath your fuse panel when you install it, okay? So we're just going to go ahead and drop this guy in now. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and take this whole control module. It was mounted on the inside of the plastic just like that. You're going to flip it around and put it through those 2 holes right there, okay? Done. Okay, so we got that out of our way. Next, we're going to go ahead and clip these pieces off because we're going to need that room for the 2 new batteries. And then that plastic tray, I'll show you what we need to do on that to remount your air box. So next, we're going to cut these 3 off, okay? And then I'm going to cut the front half of the plastic air box so I can fit it in here to mount the air box back in the same location that it was installed before. Alright, so we got to cut these 3 bolts off, okay? See if I can get through this here. There we go. Alright guys, so you need to remove this section off of your original box because you need these 3 mounts for your air cleaner and these 2 mounts to mount this plastic piece. So what we're going to do is just come through here, come on down and take all that off, have this thing separate so we can mount it. Okay, so now that we have this guy cut, you need to get 2 of your old bolts that you had that were mounting this plastic piece back in before and reuse those. So stick it back in the hole here, and one down here. And put that one back in and that one over there. They're both 10mm. And just run them down. Alright, so that is back in there. Okay, we're going to want to remount your power steering back to this location here. And this section will be done for now. Then we'll continue back on this section. Okay, so you got the power steering mount right here. We'll just take this pump and slide it back in. There we go. That is 10mm. That. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the VAP swap. We're going to need to remove this connection, and then these 2 will now replace those 2 connections on the solenoid. Just go ahead and get a flathead screwdriver inside of these 2 holes. I'm just going to squeeze it in there. So we'll just slide it in the other one. Okay, and then you're just going to pry up on the top. And that bracket comes off. So next step, we're going to remove this little plastic clamp here and this black plastic clamp here, okay? Okay, so I got those removed. At this point, we're just gonna put the one that's going straight into it back on this side. Put that clamp back on, and then the other side, same thing. Snap it in, and then you're gonna slide it. Oh, looks like we will need the hose on this one. I thought we'd have enough room, but it looks like we won't.
What do you mean?
So what we're going to do is go ahead and cut this back. We're going to attach the hose on this so I can move it further and get this little clamp on that metal bar. Shut it off. Okay, so we'll add the 2 hoses on those. Bigger line on this bottom one, okay, and the larger line on this top one. Now, we want them to go in the direction that we're going to be clamping them, okay, so they're both kind of going back towards the cab. At this point, we'll put this clamp on one, tighten it down, and this clamp on the other. and tighten it down.
Huh? Well, it sounded like they were barking in the room. I thought they were locked. Sometimes if you hit the block that's holding the door open, sometimes the doors will shut and they'll get stuck in one of the rooms. It sounded like they were barking from the room.
Alright, so now that I've gotten those on, let's go ahead and clip this solenoid where it's supposed to go. So we'll just push it down, and that'll give us a general area of where this hose is going to go. Okay, you want a big enough loop where you're not going to interfere with anything else or kink this hose, because if you try to make it too tight, you'll put another kink in this hose and it just won't work out. Okay, so on the other half of this hose is just going to slide over this plastic hose. So you're going to want to make a mark where you want to cut it, but then come back and leave about 1 inch or 2 so you can slide that other hose in about 1 inch or 2 into this one, okay? I'm not sure if you can clamp on this hose. I don't know if it's recommended, but from what I've been told, you just slide it in there and that's enough to keep it from leaking. So we have the side one here. We're going to take this, okay? Are you okay? Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and take this one, come over here, and I think what I'm going to do is take from this little bend here, I'm going to cut right at the end of that bend, and then I'll just slide it on as far as I can get it. So we're going to push this sleeve back. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and use my knife, and the reason for that is because you don't want to squish this pipe and make it to where it won't seal. So we're just going to use a serrated edge on a knife and just make our cut through it. Alright, so this airbox, you're going to put these 3 plastic pins, I guess, tabs, whatever you want to call them, back into 3 little rubber grommets down there. Okay, so you want to make sure this is facing out towards the fender. Find those holes and just push them in. Okay, so that is in. Oh, it was in until I messed with these wires. Okay, so now we're just going to put the filter in. Now, you want to make sure, if you didn't get a new filter, in this case we did not, put the dirty side towards this intake hole, okay? So you want the dirty side down, because you don't want to be sucking in all that stuff that's already been filtered back in your engine, okay? At some point we'll probably put a K&N in here, but today we're just going to reuse what we have. Don't want to forget to connect this guy back on your solenoid. Feed it up underneath.
Jack, come. Come.
Okay, and then make sure that red tab is up. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the power to your fuse box hooked up. Okay, in order to do that, you're going to need to pull your solenoid up, and there's a small groove on the side of the solenoid hook that you're going to run this red wire through. Okay, and then you're just going to set it onto the post in here, okay? Take the original nut that was holding that on, which should be a 13 millimeter. Just gonna run that down. Okay, and then you can go ahead and slide your solenoid back onto that clip. And that part is complete. Okay, now we're ready for the batteries. Let's go ahead. Okay, so let's go ahead and get those batteries in. First thing you want to do, you want to make sure this first battery gets put in with the positive closest to this connection, because you don't have enough line to get over here, but the ground is long enough to get over there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just put the hot lead towards the inside of the car, and then on the second one we'll put the hot lead towards the outside of the car. Okay, reason for that is because this tray actually will sit on the center of this battery, and the hot lead goes right to there, and this hot lead goes right to there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these wires out of our way so we can mount that. Now that whole piece that you just saw will hold this battery down. Okay, all right guys, so we got the battery in there. It's a tight fit, but it definitely clears. I think all said and done, these two posts are probably about maybe 1/4 of an inch off of the hood. But it does clear, so that's good. One thing to note when you are doing your wiring for this, run all your wires down this channel on the quarter panel and then go across, because if you ever have to replace these batteries, and we know you will, you don't want to have to remove all of your wiring, okay? So by running them across this way, when you remove this post, that post, this post, and that post, this whole thing will just tilt back and you'll be able to remove the batteries. But if you don't do it that way, you're gonna have a wiring mess when you have a new battery installed. So just quick note on that. Fits in there really nice. Everything went back into the stock location. The only thing we did move was the evaporator solenoid, but your fuse panels back here, your air boxes here, and then obviously you got 2 batteries back there. Nice little kit, clean, and yeah, nothing more I can say about it. I mean, it's gonna do its job. You have about, I think, 8 to 10 terminals for a positive, and same thing, 8 to 10 on the negative. And all of those terminals are actually on your auxiliary battery. So if this battery goes dead, you will still have a battery in the back there to start the car. So it's a plus. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of Off Axis Builds. We got that dual battery setup installed in my brother's 2017 Wrangler. Turned out real nice. I do recommend this kit. Again, it's made by Genisis, and I think he said it was about $600, somewhere around there. Great little kit, and they do sell a single battery setup and a dual battery setup. So I recommend it. Check it out. And thanks for joining us on this project, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Remember, guys, it's always built, not bought. See you on the next one, guys.